board members in attendance, that's close enough. I will then call the meeting to order. Good evening. Happy New Year, everybody. It's our first meeting of the new year.
Same to you.
I hope everybody had a good holiday season. I was busy.
I'm sure you were.
But as always, it was fun. I had a good time. So first order of business this evening is we have minutes from the meeting of November 28th of 2023. Without objection, the minutes will be accepted as submitted. Hearing none, so ordered. Program or property manager's report. Myrna, what do you got for us?
So here in the agenda we have the replacement of the filters over at the Royal and the Heights. We have completed the one over at the Royal, and we are going to begin replacing the filters over at the Heights. And then we also have monitoring or contractor for the snow removal. Currently, based on our weather conditions. We are going to send an update regardless of the snow when anybody has present issues, if they are cleaning driveways or any areas, calling the office or sending me a quick text message will be effective. That way I can notify the contractors when they're on site to make sure those areas get addressed. I know the driveways have been quite challenging, but they're also assisting us on cleaning the driveways. And new parking regulations, we have once again sent new updated notice regarding parking, as we are monitoring a lot of cars being parked on our properties that are unauthorized cars, unregistered cars, or just being parked for quite some time, not working cars. So we're trying to monitor that as much as possible, making sure everybody has stickers in their cars so we are aware that you guys belong to the property. Abandoned cars are not allowed to be parked in the property, so we did send them a new rules and regulations and notify tenants to make sure to follow the rules to pick up their stickers, providing insurance and registration, and a copy of the driver's license to make sure we are counting every car being parked in the property. Has been counted too many of them. And we have updated our gym equipment over here at the Heights. A tenant donated a few items, which was nice. And we began making some repairs, painting, making it a little nicer than what it was. And that's what we're working so far, so good in the manager's report.
Is there a limit to how many cars a tenant can have here?
So we used to have, it used to be 2 cars per unit, but then we realized that was not an efficient count, so we made it per driver. So if you have 3 drivers, you're able to park 3 cars on the property. It gets a little bit confusing because there is certain tenants who have their wife's car driving and their working car. So if your company car or your working car is your regular car, you're able to park that car in your property. But we are trying to make it as much as possible per driver. So if it's 3 tenants, 4 tenants, they're allowed to have each
Have a driver's license, insurance,
registration. They're able to get 4 stickers.
Okay.
The issue has become more of like people just coming and park cars in the property. And
The most important thing is that the cars have to be registered.
registered
No, I agree.
insurance and have a sticker, because if they have a sticker in their windshields, then we will be able to determine that they actually belong to the property. More like, obviously, if you have guests and people visiting you, it's different, but when we see this car constantly being parked in the property with no sticker on it, then it becomes a concern, especially overnight.
Funny,
You have
get on
a
the
question?
record.
I do. The tenants that have more than 1 car, they can park anywhere and not have to park their second or third cars in the guest area?
So the tenants, because there's people like, we are an example, I can use Joe as an example. He lives in the property, he has his driveway, 2 cars. He His wife drives, he drives, and his daughter drives.
Right, but he
So-
has a separate driveway.
Correct, he has,
But like, what about where I live?
so if you have your parking space and it's two tenants living there, then the two tenants can park in the front of the building.
Oh, I thought it was one car. I thought originally it was one car in their building.
Originally it was.
And one car in the guest parking lot.
No, if you're a tenant, if it's an house parking space in the front of the building, as long as it's a registered tenant in the unit, they're able to park their two cars in front, which is really not the case over there.
No.
If you have,
When was that changed? Because I know originally it was...
I updated the notice that it's per driver. If you have three tenants in that size, they're not gonna be able to park the three cars in the front of your building. They're gonna park their two cars, and the other one will go to the guest parking.
I
Kinda
think
like-
so.
It should be like that.
Yeah, the question
People
is,
are not necessarily.
But for building,
Everybody wants to
from
park
building,
in front of their
Unfortunately.
door.
unfortunately, the building 1 to 4 is quite easy because the chances of having 3 people living in a 1 bedroom is substantially low. You know, everybody in the 1 bedroom, it should be 1 or 2 people, which right now the case is only 1 person. I don't have a lot of 2 people living in the 1 bedroom, so it should be 1 car in front. And then if it's an extra driver, they should be parking in the front or parking against that area.
as always, with all of these things,
Pardon?
I say, as always, with all of these rules, we know what we want. We would like, if a tenant lives in that area, in that parking lot, there should be no more than 2 cars assigned to that tenant in the front of that parking lot.
I know, but you have
But
no control.
the problem is the third car comes along, and if there's an empty space, they go ahead and take it.
Yeah, and why wouldn't they? There's no assigned parking. They can park wherever they want.
I understand. The reason that you wouldn't is because it's rude.
Oh, give me a break.
I'm
Yes, come on.
saying. Now,
And everybody is thoughtful.
if you, the tenant, in a perfect world,
Yeah.
if you, the tenant who live there, see the same people parking 3 cars in that park, let us know. We'll
Correct.
respectfully,
That's
we
what
will
I put in.
suggest
That's
that
why I
they
put in
not
the
do
notice.
that.
That's exactly what I put in the notice. If you see something, say something, you know, that's the most efficient way that I could do it. I try to do the property walls and monitor cars constantly, taking pictures and keeping, but you know,
You shouldn't have to do that.
but we do it as much as possible.
I still think the old way is better. 1 car at the building, and if you have another driver.
The problem is that-
It goes to the park, it goes to the little parking
I could
space.
revisit from buildings 1 to 4 and make it a different change, like the old one you have it. But it's difficult for me to tell 1
One
to 4,
building,
do
yeah.
this, and then building 2, do this, and building 13,
Well, I
do
mean,
this.
we haven't had that trouble.
Correct, that's
lately.
why-
For some reason, there's less cars down there my way.
Yeah.
I guess people.
Reasons why I made it a whole property.
Well, but I noticed,
Yeah, knock wood,
I
amen.
noticed that there are, like, well, we have an empty apartment upstairs, right? But if there was that apartment upstairs, like it was before, there could be a couple of cars there at one
Yeah.
time. In a while, you know. I mean, I park in my same parking space all the time. Like you said, if you know
But
where
it's not your
somebody
parking
parks.
space.
It's not my parking space, but that's.
No,
the
but it's
parking
where you
spot
park,
I
yes.
picked since I moved in. But if it's taken when I come home or whatever, I'll take another parking space. But I will not go into another neighbor's parking space that I know that she or he parks there.
Unfortunately, you're the
all
courteous
time.
one, and
Yes, because they do that for me.
Yeah, overall, we just want to make sure that every car being parked in the property is being countable and registered with the office. So we are aware that it's a tenant that belongs to the property. Having a sticker being registered with the office is all we really want to make sure that, you know, we have enough spaces, but we want to make sure we continue monitoring so we don't encounter cars being left behind or unauthorized people staying here.
Would it help if you considered assigning
No,
parking spaces?
It wouldn't help in this property because the setup of the property, then we have the driveways, then we have building 13 and building 14. They don't have driveways, their spaces are assigned in the upper level of the guest parking area, so it would just create a bigger conflict. We can probably help them build in 1 to 4, but it's not fair if you have to build 1 to 4, and then 13 and 14 don't have a sign, and then, so it's just, that's how they build the property.
If they park up on the hill, they could still have a sign. If
Yeah,
they're
but
parking there anyway.
But the hill, the hill is a snow, non-parking snowstorm, so during the snowstorm season, so the property was built like that, not assigned parking. It has worked like this. The only thing we want is to make sure that every car is being registered and insurance with the office and have a property
I don't disagree with that.
parking sticker.
The best thing, if somebody's being really abusive, I mean, if
Report it.
somebody's just being rude, let us know. We'll talk to them. I can't make any promises. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that every tenant, because, you know, I mean, if they're of the attitude, me, and the hell with everybody else, we can talk to them until we're blue in the
I don't
face.
think that's necessarily the problem.
Yeah,
Well, at least with now the new stickers, if you see a car parked in your area that you've never seen before, and you see the sticker, at least you know, at least they're a resident, someone who does live here,
Oh, yeah.
and not just anyone coming in. all
But
the
the
time.
stickers were given since last year. We did the stickers since last year, which a lot of tenants have stickers now. But there was a confusion with people who have the driveways. They don't, because they have the driveways, they don't need to have a sticker. So I made it clear in the notice, every car parked in the property needs to have a sticker, and it needs to be insurance and registered within the office to make sure it belongs to the property. And it's
And it has to
working.
have a driver assigned to it.
And it has to have a driver assigned to it. All right, Joe.
moving right along. Old business. Seasonal plants, we'll do that in the spring.
So the old business, I can answer you all of those old business there. So we had new plans for the springtime. The pictures in the community rooms, also we will be adding around the springtime. We're in the process of gathering which pictures will be best for both properties. And the reminder for updating phone numbers and emails, it hasn't been sent, we will be sending that. We'll also be painting the fence, the exit and enter signs of the property. And then the service request procedure was sent out, and it has been effective since last month, and it's working quite better.
Okay, I have old business. This is really old because we've had this issue. We're here 10 years. And we also have it on the houses. When someone comes into my apartment,
Yes.
I want to know when that person, if I'm not home, has been in that apartment. We have asked for them to leave a notice when they come in.
Yeah.
That they ventured, so you know.
They entered my apartment
Yeah, so like this-
and did what they did. Because you come home and you don't know if they were there, you don't know if they changed the filters,
Right.
you don't know if they fixed the leak if I had one. And I want to know when someone's in my apartment.
So, in the service request notice that we send you, and this was spoken last month as well, when we have an effective maintenance guy, who is a full-time maintenance guy, those procedures are being followed. They leave you the note in the door, letting you know the service request they were there to complete your service request. Following up with service request was also stated in the notice that I sent out. If after 72 hours the service request has not been completed, you should be following up with the office and letting us know the service request was not completed.
Wait a minute, I had men coming out of my apartment last year, you know that because I had the front and the...
Yes.
Nobody ever left me a note to say we were here because I was home most of the time.
Yes, I just said last board meeting, we have sent a notice for the maintenance service request. You received the notice, right? And it provides you all the information of how we updated the service request. Did you receive the notice, right?
I don't remember about the.
Okay, I can send it back, I can send it back to you.
I walked into my apartment last year when you had that, I don't know who he was. I walked in my apartment last year and all of a sudden he's coming out of the bedroom area. And I said, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, I came to check.
Again, I completely understand what you're referring to. But last month, I sent the service request updated. We don't have a full-time maintenance
Right.
service right now, which we be using contractors, which we communicate to you when somebody's coming into your unit. I personally call you and let you know when we're working on something. We send a notice for the filters to be replaced, the days they're gonna come in and do the replacement of the filters. We give you a schedule time. So since last month, we have sent you guys an updated process for the service request. When we have a full-time maintenance person, we will make sure that those procedures that we put in place from last month are going to be followed. If you encounter an issue like the one you encountered last year, you should be emailing or you should be calling and letting me know. I had a service request this day. It
I
looks
think
like
I
somebody.
mentioned it to you once.
So we begin, make sure that this is being followed from the notice we sent out a service request from last month. Once a full-time maintenance person is hired, we will make sure that that service request notice that we sent out from last month is being followed. So if you encounter any issues like that, like last year, you should be letting me know. I put a service request, somebody came in, they let me know no. And
Well, yeah, that was like recently, when we, what did he have recently?
Can we put this like in a
Somebody was supposed to
newsletter?
show up.
we did.
And I don't remember, I mean, I didn't find any note or anything.
I can give you a copy of the service request notice that we sent out. I sent it out last month.
The last time Jose, is he still here? Well, I mean, they come and go. The last time he was in my place, he did leave me a note.
Yeah, so we have the, right
But it's
now,
sporadic, depending on who does it.
Well, on a go-forward basis, they've all been told, you go into somebody's apartment, leave a note.
yes.
And if they
they're
don't, I can't make up for what happened before. But from here forward, if somebody is in your apartment and they don't leave a note telling you not only that they were there, when they were there, and what they were there for, tell us and we'll straighten it out. We won't let it happen
And I give
again.
you guys a copy of the notice I sent out last month for the service request.
No
You
reason
got the
somebody
notice
should
yet?
be in your apartment without a definitive reason for them being there.
There's been plenty of times where they came in to do service in my apartment, and at the end of the day, I didn't know if they were there or not. Well, I mean,
He lets me know.
I let the caller up, said, did they come?
Well, I think I texted you the last time and said, were they here to do, you know? I found.
Again, we train everybody to make sure they receive the copy, they have piles of following out service requests, completed service requests. This is the reason why I also made it in the notice from last month, also attendance responsibility. In 72 hours, you have to enter a service request, non-emergency service request, of course, you have not received anything or you have not gone out respond, you should be following up with us too. You know, I can't follow up with every single service request, but I try my best. So if the attendant works with me as well, then we can follow up to make sure that their service requests are being followed up, the service requests are being completed, and you're getting an accurate response.
As far as a maintenance person, are you looking for a permanent person?
Yes.
For two? One here and one at the Royal?
We're in the process of looking to what would be best sufficient for both properties.
Just curious.
It's not an easy process.
No, then
Well, it's a lot of property for one person to handle.
Yeah.
That's when on their own business.
And just find anyone who's really worth it, working for themselves.
We're between a rock and a hard place. We try to find
Well,
some.
you know what? You get good, if you pay, you get somebody good. If you don't want to pay, you're not going to get good help. You know that old saying?
With the people that we've lost, the ones that have been good and we've lost, it's not been about pay. It's been about convenience, about finding someplace closer to where they live. I mean, there's always a reason why somebody's not happy,
Oh, right.
you know? We're working on it.
I just have one.
Anything else under?
Oh, yes, I do. I have another question.
Well, they will get to Residents Association if you want to let him just finish the agenda, and then he will get to the
Sure, go ahead.
residents. Go ahead, Joe. I think we're done in.
I think that's it for old business.
Old business.
New business.
Nothing.
I have something which is sort of old and something new.
Yeah.
Just going back to the minutes of, from November, we decided we're going to do additional CDs.
Yes.
And we've not done that yet. And I sent something out earlier because on the financials, it does not reflect correctly where the accounts are. And so there's email that went up to the folks at Imagineers, but I just want to clarify, when you look at the balance sheet, in the Darien Bank and Trust, in the operating cash, the number is around $1,500 in each account. But the CD, which we have, is $140,000, not 100, because we took some of the cash that was in the accounts and we put it into a CD. Balance sheets, the net number is the same, but they're not in the same places, and this kind of brought up the whole question of, are we getting statements from Darien Bank and Trust?
So I was going to ask you that question.
Yeah.
Which address do you use? What, we use the Hartford address?
I'd have to look at paperwork, which is on my list to grab paperwork, but
Yeah, double
I
check
think they use this address. I believe they use this
Okay, I
address.
have not received any bank statements on this address, neither Hartford has received any bank statements.
Okay.
So as soon as we receive the bank statements next month, it will be updated.
Okay, I'll talk to Laurie to make sure they have the right
Yeah.
address. And she also may be assuming that we're going to do an online log on to the account and look at it. I don't know.
Yeah, if we get the statements, it probably will be more efficient for accounting. That way they can update it project for next month.
Absolutely. And the other aspect of that was the additional CDs. If I look at it, at this point, we have about, other than CDs, we have about $500,000 in the operating account, and my recollection was that everyone felt it was comfortable to have like 100 to 150 in the operating account. So that would mean we could do $350 for another CD. I don't recall if we had determined or voted on a specific amount to do for a CD in the last meeting.
We did.
But I would like to propose that we put up to $350,000 of the operating cash, which is Pacific Premier Bank, into a CD. And I can work with the Imagineers people. I'm thinking probably keep it at Pacific Premier Bank or do something again with Darien Bank and Trust, because one of the things we learned was dealing with the paperwork was horrendous.
Yeah.
So if we can use one of the existing banks, I think that would be the way to go, and I think we have to look at what the rates are, because I'm sure that they've fluctuated, but I guess I'd like to make a motion that we move up to $350,000 from the Pacific Premier operating checking account into a CD.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
Okay, so will you be taking over the responsibility?
I'll talk to the guys up in Imagineers, and you know, I know I sent the email to Bob. I had to correct it actually after I sent it out because I was.
So, Peter?
Yep.
Can you hear?
Yes.
Peter, I'll wait to hear from you, and we'll do it the same way we did it last time.
Okay, I think that we need to first get what the rates are at Pacific Premier, and also I'll reach out to Laurie and ask her what the rates are down here, and then we'll have a conversation. The other thing which is a question, it appears that the Pacific Premier Bank CDs are interest deferred CDs, which means that when they mature, all the interest, you know, shows up in the account for the period of time. And I believe the Darien Bank and Trust, every month, they book in the interest. So I want to clarify that, so when we're looking at income, we know when the timing of it was. And that won't matter as much right now, but it sure will at the end of fiscal year. So, anyway. But that's what I have to say on that, and definitely will be in touch with the folks up there on what to go. But if you could have them at least find out what the rates are at Pacific Premier Bank, that'd be very helpful, so at least we know where we stand, if they've changed very much. They had a rate sheet at one point in time.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, that's all I have on the little old, little new.
Okay.
We are financially solvent.
We are in excellent shape.
Yes. Okay, new business. I have a couple of things. One, we are looking at a new vendor for our washers and dryers. We have not been happy with the performance of the current vendor in terms of getting equipment on time, getting repairs when there's something wrong. Not only getting repairs, but just getting response.
From the maintenance?
That they're aware that there's a problem. Now, I noticed that, because I happen to live at the Royal, that we had a problem yesterday with the washers and dryers in the community laundry room. But it appears, and this is something they should be able to react very quickly, that it's not a problem with the equipment, it's a problem with the internet. And if the internet isn't working properly, then the payment, put your credit card in, et cetera, is not working properly.
So we have determined that, Joe, that it's not the company, the washer and dryers, it has actually been or building ourselves, because we have a few times that our internet has been down and shut off. The first time, the motor needed to be replaced. The second time, it was a bad cable connection, so it is in fact our internet company who had addressed those issues. So the 2 times that we, unfortunately, because the way they're set up, has been internet issues within the property, which we did solve it. So it becomes our responsibility, not the washer and dryer company's responsibility.
I understand it.
Well, that incident was not the wash and dryer, but they have been held.
As a tenant, forget about the fact that I'm the chairman, as a tenant, I believe it is their responsibility to be able to tell us immediately whether it's their problem or our problem. For them to not know whether it's an internet problem or an equipment problem is unacceptable.
Yeah.
They have ways of monitoring their equipment, and if we call up and say, we're having trouble with this piece of equipment, they immediately should be able to respond, it's not our problem, it's your problem. Because we'll waste resources tracking the wrong problem because they don't know.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no excuse for them not to know. They should know what's going on with their equipment. So that's as a tenant, that's my concern.
Yeah, so we are in the process to...
So we'll look and see if we can do better.
Yeah, we are in the process of reviewing our contract and possibility switching to a different contractor.
Okay. Otherwise, what else do I have? I don't have anything else under new business. I don't think so. No. Anybody else got anything for new business?
I have a question.
Yes.
Since it appears that Roseanne and I are the only 2 tenants that join these meetings, for the last couple of them anyway, how do the tenants know there is a meeting?
We posted our agenda in our front entrance and in our doors and...
What doors?
We have some who are on
And they're in the town's website, posted in the town's website for the whole year, every board meeting.
But I think a lot of the people that live here, some of them might not necessarily be using the internet or have access to ways to get that information. Now, I noticed on the door, the entrance like to my building, there is a memo that says about the gym, etc.
Yeah.
So this is only a suggestion, do you think it would be a problem posting a memo on each building so that you don't have to send it to all the individuals to say, this Thursday there is a meeting if you would like to participate?
I can do it monthly, yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I just think it would be nice if there were more tenants. I know it could be a pain,
Here's what
but...
I've said. First of all, everybody's trying to be green and not use as much paper. And to say that not many people might not be using the internet, pretty much anyone under the age of 50 has a smartphone and uses the internet.
Well, there are a lot of people that
That's
are not.
everyone's communication today.
We can do the memo the same way we
Everyone.
did it with the gym, with the updates we did at the gym.
I'll be happy to make you copies at work if you need it done.
No, but we had it before when we were doing, we're gonna go back to quarterly or property notice or what do you call it, monthly agendas.
Yeah.
We were doing it every month, and then we reduced it to quarterly, and we had to get back into sending, newsletters. And we were putting it before. What I have encountered, and Joe is my witness, that we used to have significantly amount of residents coming into our board meetings because there were a lot of concerns on things not being taken care of. And it was a lot of responses being brought up to the meetings. As far as I know, the people who used to attend more constantly, they have personally told me they don't need to go to the board meeting no more because you're taking care of that. So that's the response I have gotten, why it has significantly changed within the years. I don't know, what do you have gotten the feedback?
No, I was just wondering why more people don't attend, and I was presuming, and I guess I shouldn't have presumed, that, they didn't know. That's why I asked, how do they know?
No, for the most part, and we have a different situation at the Royal because we're a single building.
Yeah.
And the mailroom is all in one location, so everybody goes there all the time.
And all
So
of
they
them
see,
are
they
over
see,
the bulletin.
they see the notices, that, so they know when the meetings are. For the most part, they're not coming to the meetings because it's cold out. They don't want to go out if they don't have to. And they really don't have anything, there's nothing of...
Anything to complain about?
Great
They can always come on the Zoom, and then it's always posted on Channel
Channel
79.
79. They can-
The meeting.
So we're just not seeing, now, I worry from a different perspective, I think we're boring. And I don't want to be thought of as boring, but that's, this is not an exciting meeting, there's not a lot going on that you can come to and say, yeah, boy, I want to go to
No, but
that.
sometimes it's nice to come just to see what's going on in the community that you live in.
I think it'd be nice for people to show up just so we know who they are.
Where you going? Pardon? You'll have a lot of that where you going?
So, we'll keep figuring, we could, we
We
could,
could do that notice for the building by week when we have the monthly meetings. I'll do that.
just to make sure everybody knows.
I mean, if they,
I
a
have-
double-edged sword, you might not want all of them
I
here.
have a feeling sometimes some of the people just don't think that if they have a complaint or they see something that's not right, it's going to be taken care of. I
Well,
think they feel that way.
I don't want people to think that if they have a concern, if they have a problem, that the board isn't interested. We're very interested. And we try, and if people come to our meeting and bring things up, we try to address them. But
But that's not the only reason for people to attend a meeting to...
no, every once in a while, it'd be nice to come by just to say hi.
Yeah.
Well, and to intermingle so that they, know
Yeah.
what's going on. Not that they should know everything.
COVID didn't help either. A lot of people had to stay away.
Yeah.
Who's sick, who might be sick, who's here and sick and didn't say they're sick. That goes through, a lot of things goes through everybody's head.
Yeah,
You know,
300%.
We'll see if there's something we can do.
and some
Anything
people
else?
just want to take to themselves.
We would do a notice.
They want to come home and go to work, and they don't want to,
Yeah, well, that's true.
you
We
know.
would do a notice, see if it makes a difference, but we used to put it on our newsletters every month when we were doing it monthly, and the changes has been over a year already.
Well, coming to a meeting is not necessarily coming to gripe.
No, I mean,
I'm having a hard time hearing her. What was the statement?
How come we have significantly changes on people coming into the board meetings, like there is not as many people showing up to our board meetings anymore. She just suggested that we post it in the door entrance of the buildings. Every time we have a board meeting, we have it posted in the town, we posted the agenda, we posted in our front entrance on our boards. For both, the Royal gets a bigger crowd, I guess, because it's within the building.
Well, as he said, it's an individual building and you have many separate ones.
And then the other thing she said that I think is significant is that we shouldn't expect that the only reason people come to these meetings is to gripe.
When you look back, when this facility was first opened, we had a lot of people showing up from the Heights because it was new, there were questions, a lot of the punch list type items of how we're going to get things done.
Yeah, right.
Then the group from the Heights subsided and we were working on the Royal and we had the same thing. A lot of people from the Royal were over because they wanted to know how are we going to do this logistically, where are we going to be moving, all those kinds of questions. And now the Royal is up and running, and there were some issues initially which had to be addressed, and they were. I think everyone at this point, we have a lower attendance now from the Royal than we used to. And I agree, it's easier to go downstairs and into a common room than it is to, schlep around a campus, if you will. But I think it's not bad that we don't have lots of people. At some point in time, I'm sure we're going to have an agenda item for requesting input from residents on improvements we can make or something like that, and I would expect that kind of a meeting will have more attendance. But for the routine stuff, I think the good news is it's being managed well, and we've worked our way through the growing pains of the Heights and also the Royal, and that's not bad.
Yeah, she is managing it well.
We do have we've had a problem that's come up a couple of times. And that is people bad-mouthing the housing authority because they don't like the response they got, or they don't like the fact that they've waited so long, they've been on a waiting list for so long to get an apartment, and they still haven't gotten an apartment, blah, blah, blah. And come to find out, they're not on our list at all. They're on the list for the Darien Commons, the new place down here, or the new place downtown.
People get confused.
They assume it's housing, it must be the housing authority. And so poor Myrna and Disha get badmouthed because they didn't respond appropriately to something that has absolutely nothing to do with us. You know, and you try to convince people you're knocking on the wrong door here. It's not us, we didn't do it.
Too many apartments in Darien now.
Now, that's one other item that I should bring up under new business. Peter and I have had a number of conversations, and I'm now letting the board know, we will continue to pursue other things that we believe that, I believe as the chairman, that there shouldn't be any decisions made relative to housing in the town of Darien, that the housing authority isn't at least copied in on the decision. Because if there are decisions made over here at the Commons, if Genevieve makes decisions downtown, we should know about it, so that if any of our tenants question what's going on, we can address those things. In addition, we're going to pursue, I have a meeting next week, unless the committee says no, they don't want me to do it, with the first selectman to discuss other opportunities that might be available for the housing authority. There are a couple of pieces of property in town that we believe the housing authority ought to take the lead on seeing how they get developed and whether they get developed. Because we have the formula. We've done it twice now and done it successfully 2 times. And there are problems when it's done independently. Simple things. What's the rule for deciding rents? For us, because we used low-income housing tax credits for both of our projects, the rule is area median income. For a lot of the 830G projects that are going on in town, the rule is state median income. Those are 2 completely different income formulas.
So what does that mean when it's just a state?
Well, it depends on who you take, who's in the pool of incomes that you look at in terms of deciding what the rent's going to be.
It's lower than here, or
Oh, yeah.
bracket?
Yes.
What's lower than, wait a minute.
No,
The state median?
ASMI is
no.
not lower than AM.
No,
No.
the state would be
No,
lower.
the
State or Darien?
The state median income, in other words, if you look at the rents they're charging for moderate income housing at places like the Commons over here, they're higher than what ours are.
Definitely.
So there are affordable housing, I was familiar with that in Stanford, so technically they follow only 1%, which is, so 90% of the building is market rate and 10% is affordable housing.
Yeah.
Kind of like what Avalon is. And then typically the MI they follow is considered between the 50 and the 60%.
Okay.
So it could be a lot higher
So what-
here because it's between 50 and 60 and it's only 10% of the property, so only a certain amount of apartments and you gotta stay within that specific percentage.
At any rate,
Correct,
but having-
but those type, like Avalon, for example, in New Canaan.
You were in Avalon.
In New Canaan, they had a 10-year agreement, and when that was over, they have no more affordables at Avalon in New Canaan. In Darien here, they have 10 years also, but I think it's,
There are
I
a
don't
number
remember the years.
of issues that kind of
Yes,
swirl
that-
around. And I was on planning and zoning for 10 years, but 10 years, a lot of years ago. And there was really no affordable housing in town other than Darien Housing Authority.
Right,
The 830Gs came in, and one of the things that was always a concern when various people came in for 830G applications was, do they have any experience with affordable housing? Do they have an infrastructure in place where they can manage it, not just short term, but long term? Or are they just going to, hit and run, put the thing in and leave? And so I think one of the things that Joe and I have talked about is, since there is much more in the way of affordable housing being put up in town, which is a good thing, we need to make sure everyone's aware of what we're doing, because there are regulations and it's going to be very confusing for people if everyone does it differently. And I don't think the
Well,
town
different
authorities are
programs.
fully aware of all those differences when they're making decisions that we want something, that's great. And if you're a commission that's involved with it, that's not your primary job, if you will, you may not know some of the ins and outs. So what we're trying to do is get some visibility in the town and be able to be a resource so that we can maybe guide them on a few things, but also so we can explain when a new housing goes in and there's all this, chit chat. We have the information which is correct and accurate, not hearsay and possibly. So
That's probably a good idea, but a lot of builders can make a deal with a town and not have to put affordable. They can donate their monies towards their affordable housing.
that's right, and that's part of the mix. But I come back to, we've got a couple of big projects going up. And it'd be nice to be able to answer questions when they
Of
come up.
course,
So
of course.
if you ask what's going on with the commons, we can tell you how many units, what they are. We have information. And so in the same way, we need the town to be fully aware that we have resources here. We have a infrastructure in place that's working. So anyway, back to you.
So we're exploring some other opportunities to find ways to make the housing authority function within the community. And unless somebody has an objection to that, we'll continue to pursue that. We will not do anything without bringing it up at a meeting to get approval of the commission.
Are you on the board for the housing authority?
I am the chairman of the housing authority.
In Darien, not here.
Here, there is only one housing authority in Darien. It is the DHA, the Darien Housing Authority. Currently, we manage the Heights and the Royal, and I am the chairman of that housing authority.
Oh,
There's also a housing fund, which is run by the town. And that owns no property, but that's, you're alluding to that some people can make contributions, financial contributions into that fund. That's separate from what we're doing. We're the only government authority, if you will, that actually has property that is, 100% affordable housing.
So you
well, I didn't mean to be ignorant, I didn't realize that.
No, and well, the other thing that a lot of people don't realize, the Darien Housing Authority is not authorized to do anything by the town of Darien. The Darien Housing Authority gets its authority to do things, to accomplish things, from the state of Connecticut, as do all
So it's
the
a
local
separate
housing
entity
authorities and
from
all
the
the towns
town.
in the
Okay.
state. The only thing the town has, as far as input to the Darien Housing Authority, is they appoint the members.
Oh,
So I'm up for reappointment, finally.
Now, I was going to ask you that, how do you become a member of the board?
Well, first of all, you're supposed to, membership, the term of office for the Darien Housing Authority is supposed to be 6 years. So every 6 years, you're supposed to be up for renewal. When your term comes up for renewal, depending on how you got onto the board to begin with, you would go before, like for instance, I'm registered in town as a Republican. So I would go for an interview with the Republican Town Committee. The Republican Town Committee would then refer me as a candidate to the Board of Selectmen. The Board of Selectmen would vote whether to accept me or not. Now, in general, the Board of Selectmen accepts the recommendation of the committees. They don't have to, but in general they do. Now, all of this got thrown into a cocked hat about, I don't know how long I've been on the committee now, but before we did this renovation, because there was some concerns about what was going on with the housing authority, and virtually the entire housing authority was changed. Everybody got thrown out, new ones got brought in.
and how many are on your board?
Right now, the board is 5. There are 5 members.
And one person which happened to Joe, is elected by all of the residents that are in the housing authority. He is the resident commissioner. And so, I forget when it was, a couple of years ago now, I believe. Yeah. But there was an election and everybody could cast a ballot and, for somebody, and you could express interest in running, and there were a couple of people who expressed interest in running, and Joe was one of them, and he won the election. So that's the
So-
only exception to being appointed by the...
I just have a question. I didn't realize you're a resident, right? And you were nominated to become a member of the board?
Yes.
By this community?
Yes.
Or by this
Yeah.
community?
Yes.
This and Royal.
So we,
And the Royal, so you
So what
represent
is-
both?
Yes.
So what
Oh,
do
okay.
So then Joe just mentioned it, that next month we are going to look up everybody's nominees, when they started, what their titles are, and when are going to be expiring. We're going to be notifying the town to make sure that's posted in the town's website and provide more information in each commissioner and each responsibility.
So my term of office expired last year, the year before, I don't remember when.
So, I'm just gonna-
My term is over, done. Except, you gotta read the fine print, because the fine print says very clearly that you are appointed to this office until your replacement is appointed. So I could legally stay on as a representative until somebody comes along and says, wait a minute, I want that spot. At which time then, that would be up to the committees to endorse somebody and send them off to the Board of Selectmen. But at any rate, so I sit here and my term officially has expired. But again, because of the way it's worded, my term doesn't officially expire until a replacement is appointed to take over my spot. Well, I don't know if you're kind of looking around the room here. Nobody's anxious to get on this committee. They're not waiting lined up outside the door saying, gee, I'd like to serve on that committee. So, we do our thing, we do what we're supposed to do, we hold the meetings, we do, we meet all the legal requirements of what we have to do. Until somebody, you want the spot? Just stand up and say, I'd like to be a member of the Housing Authority. We'll get you pointed in the right direction to do it.
So you're saying you're a Republican, so you go to a Republican, and what if you're a Democrat, you go to see a Democrat to get
Yes.
on the board?
Democratic County Commission, yes.
And we do have to meet the requirements of representation. So this is a 5-man board, we have to have at least 3 Republicans and 2
right.
Democrats.
Right.
Or we cannot have any more than 3 Republicans. So if we could
So why
have,
can't you have 3 Democrats and 2 Republicans?
we could have 2 Democrats, well, then you only got 4, you need 5. You could have 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and an independent.
Oh, okay.
You could have 2 unaffiliates, a Democrat, but you can't have more than 3 Republicans because that doesn't represent the town.
Okay,
She's trying to say something on the screen.
Joe.
Yeah,
Renee has something
what do you
she
want
wants
to know?
Go ahead, Renee.
So actually, HUD has now implemented new regulations that now impact housing authorities, and all board members are required to take mandatory training. That should be coming out in March. Once I have the paperwork, I'll send it out to all of the board members, and then you guys can read it. It'll probably be an online type of training that you'll have to attend and certify that you've gone in attendance, and that's like a new requirement that's now coming out. So a lot of the regs have changed. I don't know that it's going to impact the Darien Housing Authority that much as far as regs go and the way they calculate, because that is primarily the tax credit program. However, now it has HUD financing, so I'm going to have to really review that. But as far as the board members go, which is what we're talking about, yes, there is now a mandatory training that everyone's going to have to
Probably a
take.
good
Will that
idea.
be training and recertification training every X number of years?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Will that be a one-time training, or will that be something where every X number of years you need to go back and be recertified?
You know something? I don't know. This all just came about as of January 1st, and we're all signed up for our trainings in February. So I can tell you more about that next month.
Renee, is the training regarding tax credit?
It's got nothing to do with tax credit, and that's all separate, Myrna. That's part of our compliance piece. This just affects board members. So all the housing authority board members are now required per HUD to take
Oh,
this.
I'm just mentioning that because I know, Joe, you said that you guys are looking to represent in the town, providing resource and information based on our properties, programs to.
That's all separate. That's their thing.
To other communities. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
To other communities. So, to me, it's.
But part of it is understanding
Okay.
the difference between low-income housing tax credits and not using
Okay.
that for funding. It's how you fund the project. One of the other things we'll be looking at, because we think there's been some discussions that there may be a need for it, is workforce housing. Right now, because we use federal and state low-income housing tax credits for both the Heights and the Royal, we cannot restrict application to those units. That anybody anywhere in the country, someone from California can make a decision, well, my kids live in Connecticut, I want to move to Connecticut, and put in an application to be here at the Heights or at the Royal. And we can't say no because of the way they were funded. However, if we look at workforce housing, that's a whole different ballgame. Now they have to be an employee of the town of Darien. And can we provide workforce housing within Darien? And how do we fund it so that we can exclusively make it available only to those people who work for the town of Darien, either as a paid position or
Well,
as a
that was
volunteer?
years ago they did that.
I'm sorry?
They had that years ago, the Allen houses when they were first put up. back
When
But that was
Alan O'Neill was
1940, that was 1940.
When Alan O'Neill was first put up, yes, it was
It was for the.
thought of as workforce
Right.
housing.
Well,
However,
it was
as,
mainly for the soldiers and people that came
Absolutely.
home from the service and all.
no, but the
Now, let me
rules have
ask you
changed
something.
dramatically since then.
Now, the ones that are going up down near Palmer's property,
Down where?
Palmer's property,
Yeah,
is that, what would that be under?
that's a
the
private
state?
entity.
Oh, so that's different.
They've bypassed certain local zoning regulations by applying through 830G, which is a state ordinance. And so they'll set their rates based, I believe, on state median income.
Oh,
Now, Renee, one last question on this training.
Yeah.
HUD is aware some of us are untrainable.
I'll take the test for you. I'll put on Santa Claus beard, I'll wear the whole outfit.
Some of us have been doing this for so long, we believe, rightly or wrongly, we know the rules. My mind is completely made up. Do not bore me with the facts. We'll see how it all works out. And that's really all I have for new business. Anybody got anything else? Did I miss anything?
Nope.
Leave anything out?
wow, that was very interesting.
Okay. Do the residents associations have anything that we didn't bring
No.
up?
We're good,
Anything
thank
that got to you, Joe?
No, the plowing, they did a good
Okay.
job clearing out.
Do
Oh,
we
I have
have?
something on the
Yes.
plowing. They did a decent job on plowing and cleaning in between the cars.
Yeah,
But just a suggestion, they need to put some salt in between the cars. One morning I came out to go to work at about 7:30, and I was holding on to the car, my car, the car next to me. I could barely walk to my car. It was a sheet of ice
Yeah.
on both sides, which I know they can't help that, but maybe if they put some salt in
Yeah.
between.
This is from something, I've been plowing for 30 years. It's the same old story. There's times when it's cold, it's good. When it's cold and it snows, it's great. I mean, everything stays frozen. When you plow, when you shovel, everything stays frozen. As soon as it warms up just a
And
little
it
bit,
gets wet and it.
these guys,
I
they
understand
come
that.
out back out to resalt the drive. That's sometimes the areas that get forgotten, to get in between, and
Well, I
it
don't-
forms ice
That's not a
immediately.
critical remark that
Yeah.
they didn't do a good
No,
job.
but I said, but
They did a
what I try to
decent
tell
job.
all the properties that I plow, when the weather's like this, and you see things are melting, be very careful.
I was trying to be careful.
Be
I
very
just kept
careful.
sliding, trying to get
You know,
in
I
the
tell my
car.
wife, as soon as she wants, listen,
We are.
you know, I go out and I salt around.
Yeah.
Like I even did her car and all the everybody else's car, because I knew it was gonna be icy.
Well, she mentioned it today that your building over there is missing
Sand
a
is a mess,
bucket.
you
That's
gotta
why we
clean it up in the
have,
spring, it doesn't go away.
we have a bucket of soil in each building. And
Yeah.
Rosie mentioned it today that
Yeah, we
building one,
didn't have one.
they didn't have a bucket, so I did tell the guys to add a bucket.
Do we
So
have a bucket?
But-
yeah, she just mentioned it to me today.
I don't know if you have a bucket. I only knew because somebody mentioned it to me.
Yeah, so
that we
we
didn't have.
added buckets of salt to each building. That way, you know, when you walk in towards
Oh, I
your
don't mind
car,
doing that.
you
if I
can
had
grab the
access
bucket
to it.
right in front of your building.
one.
Yeah, I mentioned it to the landscapers as well.
Well, the thing I have about the plowing is, if it happens during the night, that's a different story, but if they come in the morning to plow again, and we know about it, I would be very happy to run out and move my car.
Thank you.
Now, there's been a couple of parking spaces near my car that have been empty, and I feel they should have just cleared all that out.
Is it a single space, or is there more
They were
than
all
one space?
single spaces, but there was like three.
Car on either
No,
side of it?
Just 3 empty
That
spaces.
should have been clear.
And, you know, I feel that that could have been cleared out. I've been parking mine up on the little parking area because there was too much ice around it, and I didn't want to take a chance of walking there. Because I'm at the end, and you know where they pile all the snow? Up at the very end of the parking area. This time it wasn't bad, but the time we had a lot of snow, it was so high, and then it started to melt, and then it froze, so there was all this water over in that area, and it froze. This time it didn't do that, but that's how I feel. I think they should come back and clear off the empty spaces more,
I cheat.
or let people know.
Yeah, so
I
that's
cheat.
right.
I get excellent service. My car gets plowed. If there's ice in between mine and the one next to it, it's sand on it. And now, the fact that my car
Yeah,
has,
what's your secret?
my car has the license plate Mr. Claus.
Oh, is that why?
Nobody's screwing around with me.
But that's what I mentioned at the beginning of the meeting about the plotting. Typically, we have our maintenance guy who helps with the driveways and with the parking spaces. You know, I mean, the whole parking lot, like you guys, it should be cleaned out by the landscaper. By the
Last year it was
company.
great.
Yeah,
It really was great last year.
So typically we have our maintenance guy do it. If it's during the week and we have the helpers who are constantly working, we can send them over and clean somebody's driveway. But because we don't have a full-time maintenance person right now, we are using the snow company helping us with the driveways. Again, until we get a full-time maintenance person and moving forward, if you have any issues, shoot me a text. You know how to text me, especially if it's during the snowstorm and they're still
Ernie, if
here.
I have to text you every single time.
Don't worry about it. If it's during a snowstorm and this company's still here, I am going to let them know to circle back again and if you move your car, then they can clean your driveway.
Now that you mention that, does the plowers leave a truck up in the little area?
In the guest parking.
Yes.
Okay, well, the last week, I didn't really go out, but there was one day I had an appointment and I had to go out, so that had to be Friday, I think, or whatever. There was a gentleman sitting in the truck there. And at first I didn't think anything of it, but when I came back, he was still sitting there, and then it dawned on me. I said, is he one of the guys from the plow company? So kiddingly, I looked at him and I said, oh, are you waiting for more snow to come? And of course, I don't know if he understood me or not, but he nodded his head. But I thought, okay, if he's the plow guy, why isn't he cleaning up the snow here? You know?
Maybe he was warming up.
We are
I didn't see
literally,
any machinery, that's why I was...
we are literally damned if we do and damned if we don't. If we don't do enough, it's a problem. If we do too
Too
much,
much, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Because
Can't please everybody.
it puts salt in between the cars.
Maybe that's what
The
it
guy
is.
on this side is going to say, thank you, it's not so slippery. The guy on this side is going to say, you're putting all that salt that's rotting my car out. You cannot win.
Can't win.
Well, I mean,
No way to get it right.
To me, that's the last problem. My problem is you don't want anybody falling in.
Well, we we had a company years ago that literally took the time to wipe at what's now the Royal, used to be Old Town Hall houses, because they knew they were all elderly people, and they would take the time to wipe the snow off of all the cars,
Oh, I would love that.
which was great.
Here's the problem.
Liability, right?
Here's the problem.
Bingo.
You say thank you.
Bingo.
You say you scratched my car.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly what happened.
Or we try to shovel, like even we do it. When we plow lots, if it's more than 2 spaces wide, I'll go in with the plow and push. Single spaces I won't. And people yell at me, well, my spot is clear. Doesn't matter, because if I hit that car with my plow or that, then everything I've done today is
Yeah,
gone.
it is hard. I've seen it.
It's very unthank, nobody wants to thank us for what we do. And that's why, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
and we're out
Because
there
I
for
watched
12,
them, and it is
15,
hard.
20, 24 hours. Trying to make sure that everybody's clear for the morning, so they can go to work.
Yeah.
You know, so when you know it might be icy, maybe keep a little bag of salt
Well, I don't go
within,
out early in the morning, so.
throw it out before you walk to
And
work.
I'm the guy who's
I will.
complaining, and I'm the guy that's complaining you're making too much noise that
Yep.
early in the morning,
Yes.
because I don't have to go to work and I'm sleeping.
Yes. All I hear is
We're
sleeping.
airplanes.
Just sleeping.
You're damned
Oh,
if you're doing
yeah, I
it,
hear
damned
that all
if
the
you're
time.
So they have it, they have
You
it.
should be happy
Thank
with
you.
it.
Oh,
Thank
I
you
had
for
the
coming out, I
backup
appreciate it.
buzzer on my truck.
Thanks for
Oh,
taking the
people
time.
couldn't take that, I disconnected.
Hey, Myrna, when you
Yes.
leave the meeting, could you come down to the building? I want to show you that door. No matter what
I will
they're
be-
doing to it, it's not,
I will be there tomorrow morning, and the contractor will come back tomorrow as well. He was here today, so he,
yeah, no, I talked to him.
yeah, I'll have him come back tomorrow
But
morning.
as I came out tonight and the door closed, I had to bang it because
I have him come back tomorrow morning because they were here today.
Yeah.
Is this one of the electric strike ones?
No, it's just a phone call. He will come back tomorrow morning. So when he comes, I'll go over there and meet you tomorrow, okay?
Have we got anything else? Do we have anything for executive session?
I have one very brief thing.
Okay, then the chair will entertain a motion to end public session and go into executive session. We will not be coming out of executive session for a vote.
Good night.
Night.
It's been fun.
And
Thank you.
and Todd, if you could stay on, I'd appreciate it.
Todd's still logged on, but he's sound asleep.
Will do.
Okay.
All right, that's it, you're done.